Welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Ross Brand. Today we're talking lifestyle blogging, Italian food, culture, and history, and a little bit of Snapchat too. And Ask the Expert is brought to you by Livestream Universe, where you can find all of our past shows and features. We also have daily updates with show recommendations on our Facebook page at facebook.com/livestream universe. Joining me today, all the way from Milan, Italy, is Nazim Beltran, who, along with his wife Elisabetta, runs the Italian lifestyle blog Casa Chiesi.
Cool, that's good.
Casa Chiesi. Okay, I was worried about that
I
for
always
the last half
everybody's
hour.
like it's like Casa Chiesi, Casa. You got it really, Ross. Casa Chiesi, right on the money, man. Congrats.
Thank you. So Nazim and his wife, they serve as your online guides to a fun-filled view of Italy. And, since it's so your life and what you and your wife do is so relevant to your blog and where you live and everything, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and introduce Casa Chiesi. Casa Chiesi?
Okay. Well, basically, we started 2 years ago. We first started on through friends of ours that got us involved in Google Plus and that whole environment. And we started doing a couple of shows there, interviewing people. And my wife said, she like, why don't we show people Italy, but from the point of view of a couple that live in Italy, an American and an Italian, and not necessarily it's like this is the big places, but also alternative, off the beaten path type of places. So in August of 2 years ago, we decided let's launch Casa Chiesi. So we built a website where we have the sections that talk about food, shopping, but from our perspective of, Milan, also Rome, different type of places. And with the point of view of not so much like, okay, this is like, the classics, but going into side avenues and side things of things that, a lot of people around the world might be interested in looking at. My wife is a makeup artist, and I am an architect, and we met in Miami in 1992, got married on the beach. She tried to live in South Florida and South Beach for about 2 years, and she said, no, this is not for me. And I looked at Europe. I always loved Europe in general. I loved Italy in general, and I had visited quite a lot before, so I decided to say, like, you know what, let's just wrap up everything and give it a try in Italy. We got married in Miami, and it was a love at first sight. We a 6-month thing. We moved over here. My wife's been working in makeup, still traveling. I opened a digital agency in 1995. But Casa Chiesi is a passion that we're always discussing and saying, like, it'd be great to do a brand and a platform around Italy from our point of view. So we've been doing that for the last 2 years and enjoying it a lot.
One of the things that stands out when I first visit your website is it doesn't look like you're selling anything on your website. I'm not seeing you selling tours or authentic Italian food or anything. I don't see any banners to click for affiliates. Is this just a labor of love?
At the moment, it's a labor of love, and the strategy has been, let's build content. Let's build content. Let's build relationships. Let's build engagement. And that's what we've been doing with a lot of the people that visit. And I mean, even, through the Google platform, there's friends that have come and visited me. Voss is a case in point. She's come over and visited us. So there's not at the specific moment, even though my wife did write a cookbook about stories in Italian food that we self-published, and it did relatively well, but we're going to do a second edition. There's no, right now at the moment, it's like, and a lot of people say, we love your stuff, but you're not selling anything. And that right now is a strategy that we want to keep going until we decide, what to do. Even our newsletters, I mean, people like, the newsletters are basically about the articles and about where we are at, what we're doing, and when we're live streaming and stuff like that. And people are like, wow, this is great. So I think in the rate of our email subscribers, we don't have too many people unclicking and saying, oh, okay, these guys are pushing a product too much. Right now, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
If you're in the live stream and social video community, I think it's the rule that you have to have a course or you have to be pushing something, though. So it's refreshing to see a site that, and over time, obviously, opportunities will arise, but it to see the patience in terms of providing great value and information. And I have to start with the photography, because the photography is beautiful, and I think that's really an important part of any website, but especially a lifestyle blog or blog about travel or new locations and so forth. Talk about, kind of how the photography came together and why you put such a focus on that and the importance of
the story comes in the sense that CasaChiesi.com comes out of a project that my wife did, which is called EatingHeart.com, which is a book that she did along with her friend Tosca Radigonda, who's a photographer in Austin, Texas, who does major campaigns, and she's a very well-known photographer. They're very close friends, and Tosca's like, why don't we do a cookbook about stories? So they did that project about 7 years ago. And Tosca, when we started Casa Chiesi, she says, I want to be in. So she is part of Casa Chiesi in the sense that she provides a lot of the photography on the site, which is really, really very nice. So the fact that, we can put in photography from somebody who has a love for Italy as much as we do, because she adores Italy and she comes every year and she's involved a lot in the project. And down the road, we're looking at really thinking, okay, now we're building content, we're building great stuff. Let's see where it steers us in the sense of what we want to do with it. But right now, I mean, she's Tosca Radigonda, she's American, but her parents were, her grandfather was from Sicily. Not Sicily, well, I can't remember. But she adores this place, and my wife adores this place, and I adore this place. So right now, that's enough, material to really just like express. And I keep, most of the people who are visiting today, I mean, Michael and everybody knows, and Jay, I keep telling you guys got to come over. I mean, come on, we got a place. You come on over, and we can have a great time. And everybody's like, yeah, because it's a wonderful country. It's a really wonderful country, and no, Ross,
I might take you up.
I got a couch right here. We got not an extra room. We got another apartment, so it's not. Really, I always invite everybody over, and Betty's like, yeah. And then I'm very lucky because Betty is a very amazing cook. And the funny thing is, when we looked at Casa Chiesi, I was pushing, so you got to do some cooking and cooking and cooking. And she's done a couple of things, but she says, I don't want to be a slave to a kitchen show. I don't want to do a cooking. I want to feel that this is what I want, the way I want to do it, So I think in that sense, the balance and everything, it's working quite well. It's really working quite well.
Now, do you have any sort of publishing editorial schedule, or do you just blog when you find something that kind of moves you, that seems
I've learned
like it's
a lot,
a good fit?
Being on the different platforms that we are, Ross, and you well know, we run into a lot of people. I mean, Brian fans I mentioned, everybody else was really, and Dustin Stout, who's a very good friend, shout out to Dustin. And I tend to follow the recommendations of having consistency. But the problem we have is I'm a consultant for a company that designs cruise ships in Italy. And apart from that, I have my own digital agency in Milan. And my wife is a makeup artist. So we really have to crave out the moments to be able to do Casa Chiesi. And we just started a series about right before June called Casa Chiesi Secret Milan, where we just every 15 days we do a live stream outside with selfie, the whole 4G connection, showing something special in particular about Milan.
Right.
And that people are really loving. We're getting a lot of great feedback on, and that's just like an additional project in Casa Chiesi. But it takes time because we don't just go out there and shoot. We just prepare a program. There's a storyboard. We do the research. We go check out the 4G. We check out the whole thing. We can do the show, and we're getting a lot of. So in that sense, there is a schedule that we're trying to keep to. Now, this week we were supposed to do one, and we were also, this interview with Betty but she got flown out to Utah. She got a call on Thursday last week. She says, I'm leaving next week. I'm like, okay. Because she had to do a commercial in Eden, Utah, which is a very interesting place. So she's gone. So in that sense, we have to work our schedules around it, but I think we're relatively consistent. It's not that we wait a month and then post something. Apart from this summer where we took 3 weeks off, and we just like.
Right. So where does live video, social video fit in? You mentioned you do periscopes, you do, the cell phone selfie kind of thing. But we also saw you very active on that other platform that we don't mention anymore.
I love the way you're dealing with that, Ross. It's like that, you know, it's
whether
4
it was
letters.
guesting or, you know, yes. Yes, it's the worst 4-letter word you could say in here, and the only one that
which is how I met you, Ross, because I know that we met on that platform. Yeah. When we started, we tended to do on Google Plus, we tended to start doing interviews with people in Windows and asking them about their Italian experience. But my wife looked at me and she said, you know what? I want to go out. I want to go and show stuff. So we decided on Periscope, and we've got relatively good success with that. But then Facebook Live for us is the thing that we love. On our page, we mostly on our page, not on our profiles, because we want to build this brand, and we want to keep it a little bit separate. Other people are like, well, you know, I understand what Casa, now they know what Casa Chiesi is, but before it's like, is it Nazim, is it Betty? And we tend to try to be together the most. And even on Snapchat, although my wife looks at me on Snapchat, she's like, will you stop? But now she's getting into it, because people are giving us feedback. It's like, you know, Betty's was great in this one, and it was funny on this one. So we are doing a lot of humor aspects into the stuff that we do on Snapchat, which is another channel that we're starting to really use. And the fact is that I'm planning on, you know, I decided I'm going to London just to get some more tips and to meet some people I can give some, you know, because the thing there, what we want to do is not so, we're not worried about the numbers. We're worried about the engagement. We're worried about expressing our message out. Right. It's not like we sit down. It's like, oh, you know, we need. No, I'm very happy where we're going. 2 years of, and another thing that's very interesting, Ross, and my wife said to me this the other day, and I think it's very curious. She said the main reason, apart from our love for Italy, this project really makes us, because you're always working. I'm always working. Our daughter is 21 years old. It makes us do stuff together that we love to do. So it's kind of like another thing that you know, it's kind of revolved around the relationship as a couple. And that's one, yeah.
I think that's awesome how you guys seem so connected and really share this passion. Talk a little bit about your background. Obviously, you come from the U.S., but you speak fluently. You speak to me like you have an accent of a native. Of course, I probably wouldn't know what that is. And you know, growing up in the New York area, you hear people speaking with a Sicilian accent like it's the 1800s around here, because that's when their great grandparents came from Italy. And you know, I still speak with
my story is a little bit flavor. My story is very interesting in the sense that my father's was from Spain and my mom's from Turkey. They met in Europe. My father was vice president of IBM, so he got flown out to South America, to Venezuela. And I was born in Venezuela. And then when I was 6 years old, they got divorced. And my mom said, she had her sister in New York. She said, we're going to New York. So I was brought up on Long Island in Roslyn Heights. Then my mom moved into the city, and I lived in Brooklyn Heights for a while. Then I was sent back to South America to do my high school, which I did it at a preschool, Italian preschool. So that was the beginning of like, okay.
But you were neither Italian nor from South America.
I'm originally from Venezuela, from South America. So I do speak.
Oh, okay, that's right.
That's right. I'm Spanish. So when I applied, then I finished my high school. I went to study in the States, and I did. Ended up in Miami. I had options going to Baton Rouge, Miami. And I decided Miami. I did college there, university there. Then I graduated as an architect. Worked in an architectural studio, and then I met my wife. And then after that, we moved here, and that's how I ended up in Italy. I do, yeah, Claudia, I do. Sí hablo español. I'm looking at the sides of the comments here. Also want to say hello to, there's a lot of great, well, maybe we'll give the hellos a little bit later. Yeah.
Oh, sure. No, go ahead. Did you learn Italian in that school?
No, I didn't know. What's very funny is when I met my wife, she said, your Spanish is good. It's going to help you, but you need to take a course here. So I went to like Miami-Dade. I was already working. I went at night to like this 6-week course with Professoressa Tucci. And it was a very funny story because she taught me Italian, and I played a joke on my wife. I said, man, this Professor Tucci is amazing. And my wife's like, what's that? Yeah, she's great in Italian. She's teaching everything perfectly, and she's hot. And my wife's like, what do you mean she's hot? I go, yeah, I mean, it's a general comment. So my wife ended up going one day Well, I was doing the course at night and looking through the door, and Professor Tucci was she was not that hot. She was like 70 years old. And my wife's like, I got out of class. What do you mean? I go, so that's the joke I played on my wife, which is pretty funny. It is, Claudia. It is. But no, then I ended up. The funny thing is, I speak Italian, but my friends here make a lot of fun because they say that I do have the Spanish the Spanish intonation.
Well, I mean, I have friends who speak Spanish, and they can understand some Italian. Even if they don't speak it, they have the ability to understand it.
Which makes you lazy if you know Spanish, because then you don't really go deep on the Italian.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this is Ask the Expert. So we welcome questions. If you want to jump in, say hello to Nazim. You want to ask him a question, please just indicate that you want to come in, and we'll let you in. You can also enter questions in the chat box. So blogging is a major commitment, right? I mean, even when you're not publishing every day, or you have, it's not a job, it still feels a lot like a job. What kind of tools do you use to kind of speed the process along, or to manage your workflow, or just make it a little more, a little less arduous, the aspects of it that are not as much fun as arranging photos and writing,
the
writing
technical part. Now, what we use a lot, me and Betty together, we use Evernote, and we have a whole series of like folders where, because we're doing a lot of research about the subject matter that we're trying. So we do a lot of clipping on a lot of stuff, a lot of research, and then we decide, okay, let's write about that. And I have to confess that on the site, we're at the point where it's like 2/3 Betty's writing, because she writes really, really very well, and 1/3 mine. 1/3 mine, and then so we're both combining that. But when she goes on a subject, she really expresses it quite well. And then and she speaks English very well. She writes English relatively well. I just got to come in and grab her stuff and polish it up a bit. But that's what we end up using. Tool wise, apart from that, for blogging, not much. We used to do a lot of Hootsuite and stuff for social media, but that's different. What we do is we try to get the social media to come towards the site, indirectly, which is one of the things that everybody keeps telling us, is that the website is the center of the universe and everything else is kind of mute. But I have an opinion that sooner or later that's going to change.
You think that eventually we'll be doing everything
I'm a little bit
social
scared
platforms?
That, yes. And this is conversations that I have with people that are like, oh, everything has to be. It's true. I do believe that everything has, but the scary part is that when you do stuff on social media, I mean, Facebook is a very solid platform, and you don't think it's going to go anywhere. The one with the 4 letters, a lot of people were really putting their money there, and I mean, in the sense like broadcasting and stuff, and they were in for a big surprise. On that platform, I was not a broadcaster. I was just a guy that I would like to come in and talk to people, and once in a blue moon get in a show or after show green room or stuff like that.
Right. Which of the social networks do you find are giving you, in terms of lifestyle blogging, the most traffic or the most benefit?
Right now, for us, a lot of Facebook. It's Facebook, and especially Facebook Live, a lot.
Right.
And because we tend to broadcast live outside, so that's what was the last part? Excuse me.
How's Instagram
doing? Really good. We use Instagram quite a lot. Pinterest, quite a lot. My wife's the one that curates Pinterest, because I'm gonna get in trouble here. It's a woman thing, and I know that. No, it's not true. I know I'm gonna get slapped on the wrist by dear friends and on the sidebar, which is but she loves that platform. I love Instagram, and I have to say that Instagram stories is extremely interesting. And as much as people in the Snapchat world don't want to see the reality, I think it's going to give a good run for the money to Snapchat.
What I like about it, I guess, and I'm not that big into Snapchat, is that I am on Instagram every day. I have to be on Instagram every day. I don't have to ever go on Snapchat if I don't want to, right? I mean, now you could say, okay, I'm missing certain opportunities and whatever, but time is limited and whatever, and Instagram is a must for me. And so when I see the stories across the top, I can clearly see people that I've chosen to follow that I just feel like I know the people better who I'm seeing stories from, and I'm finding their stuff quicker. And I don't know, it just feels more relevant and feels more easy to fit into what I'm doing to watch some stories. And I somehow I feel very different about it than I do Snapchat stories. It seems like a lot of the silliness it seems a lot of the silliness from Snapchat is kind of weeded out because people know that Instagram isn't quite behind the firewall that Snapchat is, or something about it is.
I tend to agree. I think and this is going to be an interesting comment on my part. As I love Snapchat a lot, I like I'm starting to really like Instagram. I think there's a different kind of level of sophistication on Instagram, maybe. And I'm not saying that it's not sophisticated on Snapchat, but the problem in Snapchat is when you reach a point where you have 150 people and you got to go and see all their stories through. There's the people that really captivate you, but then the other ones that kind of like fall through the cracks. And I'm having the same thing with I'm sure with Casa Chiesi. Not everybody watches us, but the people that come back and watch us and we interact. What I love about Snapchat is the interaction. I have to. The part that, I mean, Carlos Gil last night gave a presentation to Jacksonville. I sent him a Snapchat this morning. He answered back. The fact that you can do that and something you can even call them. I don't like calling people. It's also, out of the blue. It's like, who is this? But that I like a lot on that platform.
Yeah, and one thing I liked about it when I was testing it out more is that the barrier to access is so low. I mean, people are more likely to respond to a Snapchat message than almost any other kind of message, because Twitter direct messages get lost, right? So because there's so much spam. Facebook, if you're not connected with the person, it's going to go into their spam, sort of their spam message folder, and they'll notice 3 months later that there's a permission or something that they need to, right? But Snapchat, people seem like, okay, they feel like this is the purpose of it, right? It's a messaging app, and I'm gonna get back to people. I still use, with people I know, Facebook Messenger probably the most, and some Twitter DM, but I do see that value in it for people who like using that platform.
I totally agree with you. Interesting thing that you're talking about Facebook Messenger, and which is very funny. Prior to last year, prior to the period of that 4-letter word platform, I had my friends and family, and that was about it, and a couple of friends from social media. After that platform disappeared, I picked up everybody from that platform in my Facebook. So now they're messaging, and it's kind of like so that. Which is a little bit. Some people say, well, that makes it a little bit, and a little bit goes outside of the realm of the family and friends initial thing that it was at the beginning. And you're seeing a lot of more business aspects into Facebook that you did not see 2 years ago, I think.
Right. And Facebook groups. Oh yeah, they're awesome. I don't know if you do anything groups, but they've totally taken over for Instagram groups, at least in social media and more social topics. Facebook groups are killing what used to be LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups are kind of dying.
The funny thing about LinkedIn is I tend to, you have to have a presence on LinkedIn, but I was never a big fan of LinkedIn because I would just like to go in there to see for example, tomorrow I have a presentation in Bologna for a project. I went into LinkedIn to see who these people were so I can see their backgrounds. That's about it for me. I'm not going in there and commenting about, technology, stuff like that, because,
Right. Yeah. So we want to take any questions that you have for Nazim about
LinkedIn user UX update. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they're just interested. They're interested in selling your data to recruiters and to. They're not so interested in your experience. Just get the resume on there and get that data out that people are going to pay for a recruiter seat. That's what LinkedIn's about. Well, the only thing, since we're on LinkedIn, the one thing that I think is interesting is they were bought by Microsoft. Microsoft owns Skype, which is the highest quality of communication that you can find out there. Best picture, best audio, when you have the quality of, you have the bandwidth to make it happen, right? So if they somehow integrated Skype with that, and whether they, you could use it as a broadcast platform or you could use it as a webinar platform, or even somehow an in-house kind of corporate platform.
That's the theory.
I think there's some interesting possibilities.
We were talking, I mean, this is a little bit off the record. About 6 months ago, I was involved with Kelly Services, which is a major American company, and they have their offices here. And they presented to me the fact that they were trying to do a project together with LinkedIn that would have that sort of like interview people type of thing. I don't know where that project is going or where it went, but now that they bought Skype, I thought to myself, this is going in the direction of the curriculums, the CVs, the interview people, the stuff, that sort of thing. Live interviews, of candidates to work in a company or something like that. I see that could be very interesting.
Terry says Zoom is taking over Skype in terms of quality. I tested Zoom, I guess about 4 months ago, when that other
that four-letter
that four-letter one that we're not going to talk about, when I was getting ready to leave. And the audio wasn't that good at that time. Now it's possible that they've improved it, but for me, the audio was better on here than it was on Zoom. And of course, Skype is like 10 times what anything else is in terms of audio quality. Again, when you have the bandwidth to make it happen.
I think what's very interesting, and also what Terry is saying on the side of Zoom, is overtaking Skype. What is incredible is that right now we have Appear, we have Room.co, we have so many free platforms to do this stuff that it's even phenomenal. Even also with the four-letter one, I mean, just the fact everybody was complaining about stuff, and I just kept saying, guys, the more stuff we have to play with, the better off we are. In every sense of the word, regarding the video world, the video live streaming, or just directly video chatting world.
And I think what I've seen is, from the people who are kind of committed to doing this, I think they've gotten better. I think in a way, Blab, I mentioned it, but in a way that four-letter platform dying has kind of enabled people to grow in terms of the quality of content, how they broadcast, and all that stuff, because Blab made it so easy. No platform makes it quite as easy to do everything, right? And so people have to think more about their broadcasts, and more about the technology they're going to use, more about how they're going to promote and get people to show up. And what you're getting is that the people who've stayed out after it, to me, are structuring their content better, are having better conversations. The shows are tighter. And so from a broadcast standpoint, I think people have improved, because we were like on autopilot on Blab. It was like, this is what you do, and this is how it works, and fantastic, right? I mean, I created all my shows with the idea that Blab would be here forever. So once Blab was not here, then I had to think about, what is it that I want to do, and how can I do it better than I was doing it there. And I think the platforms that people have gone to, whether it's this one or it's some of their competitors, are really more professional, better platforms in terms of the quality of what they offer, and how the presentation is to bring a guest in. And there's still trolls here.
There's less like trolls than on that four-letter one.
Everything's got less than that. So we have some questions. Jay Garrett asks, what can we do to help you promote the blog? And what is it that you would like promoted? Give us a vision of where you want to be.
Thank you very much, Jay. Jay's a dear friend over out in Austin, Texas. He's on the bucket list to come to Italy. I keep threatening him, and he told me he's coming. So we'll work that out, maybe 2017. No, Jay, no, very well. It's www.casachiesi.com. There's a newsletter there. Give us a like on the Facebook page, which is exactly facebook.com/Casa Chiesi. And just give us love. The next vision for the next 1 to 2 years, we have some ideas that we've discussed this summer while we were relaxing. And right now, let me mention that we are part of, and I want to do a shout out here to some dear friends from Italy, Chiara Beretta Marsotta and Rosella Canevari, who's a very big Periscope blogger. She invited us to do a marathon 3 months ago with the Italian live streaming group and it was, people were just passing on for 24 hours Periscopes back and forth. And we are part of that group, and we've been working with them on a lot of great shows. So they're giving us a lot of support, and we're seeing growth in our numbers after doing that. We tended to be something specific to the English-speaking But now we're also getting a lot of feedback from Italians, but Betty was always like, I don't want to be teaching Italians about Italy because they should know it by now,
Yeah, but sometimes people who grow up around it and whatever don't always know all the.
Yeah, you're right.
They
right.
take it for granted, right? Does your site have like multiple language capability, or people can go on Google and just translate? Or
that was a decision that we discussed. I was kind of like, we should do it, and my wife's like, no, I want to do it in English. That's it.
So Chef Michael asks about YouTube Live because, they're transitioning from Google Plus Hangouts on air to YouTube Live. I'm not sure how much of a difference it's going to make. It just means you don't have to use G+, right? But it's the same technology, the same interface is there or not? I haven't tried it yet.
It's a great question that Michael brings up, and Chef Michael's another great friend that we met on Google Plus, to tell you the truth. There is a transition that's supposed to be happening relatively soon by Christmas, maybe, that YouTube Live will be a thing on mobile that you'll be able to do. YouTube has a big, there's a whole big imagery behind YouTube, which I think is quite important. But the people that become viral on YouTube, they become viral for most case scenarios, for viral, silly things, for not specific. So I'm probably going to get somebody on the side and say, well, no, there is people that do have incredible content and they get great numbers on YouTube. But I think it's they're going to have a serious competition from Facebook on this one. And I think Facebook is really doing the platform right. There's a little bit delay. Yes, it's true. But if you're patient, but they're consistently, the quality is good. Businesses, the whole game of live streaming, in my opinion, businesses are starting to look at it recently by, getting the spokesperson that does the stuff for them. But sooner or later, you're going to see businesses using this as an alternative to, advertising and things of that nature. I don't think TV is going to disappear. I seriously think that there's going to be some sort of hybrid transformation between live streaming, web-based, and television.
What do you think will be key for people who are live streamers who may start to broadcast in a way that may become more like a hybrid or more into the TV vein, or maybe, when TV comes to the web, however it works? Like, what do you see that you think comes from live streaming that would work in more of a TV?
There's a very great example for me in what I've seen. You mentioned Marty and Steve. They're a case in point. Yeah, Rob Hicks is another one with Ricky Prime and all the shows that they're doing. It is at a level that you start looking at this going like, there's a lot of production work behind it. There's a lot of combining and stuff, but it's starting to make this look very much like TV. Now, I've heard criticism from people saying we don't want that. We want this to be a little bit more rougher on the edges. But as businesses move into the picture, they're going to want a little bit to go towards the direction of like getting it as close to something that they're familiar with, which is television. Yeah.
Right. Alfredo says, hey, Ross, I was looking into how much it costs to fly to Milan. One stop, 13-hour flight is $883 to $2829 via Google search.
No, wait a second. In September, if you guys know now September.
Now, Alfredo's from Los Angeles, I think. I'm coming from the East Coast.
But there is like a New York Milan ticket that goes around, I think it's right after April, May. It goes like for $438. Yeah, that's
April or May is a good time, right?
Let me pencil you in let me pencil you in on the pizza. I had pizza tonight on the pizza box. You see how creative the cover of a pizza box is in Italy? Look at this.
Yes. Nice.
I'm there. Terry, you're invited also. Stan Bush is in the house. This is a dear friend of mine from Google Plus and from that 4-lettered platform. And and Stan's a great guy. He's over in Georgia. So, and sooner Chef Dennis, who's not here, is another one that I'm looking forward to having over here.
So Jay Garrett talks about when he went to one of his friends moved to Costa Rica, spent a year traveling around, never doing the same thing twice. Then the second year, even the locals asked for his travel advice. So don't discount
No,
that
no,
local
that's
interest.
true. Yeah, Jay's got a very good point. But my wife, I don't know. It's not that she's anti. I mean, she just wants to. I don't know. This is kind of the game plan that might shift in the near future.
Right.
But then we got to translate all the old posts into Italian, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Now, Carlos from Lounge
Carlos.
Network says he'd love to show you how he
I
does his
know.
multi-camera show and start a new travel show there. And I saw in person what he can do with
the Lounge
mobile.
Network. Sorry, but you're the.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned you in that whole group because you're doing some amazing things that I'm like sitting there going like, wow. I'm sorry about that. An oversight on my part.
And he's doing it all. He's doing it all with mobile, with iPads and iPhones and stuff like that.
Which the other people are not. I haven't seen them do that. So.
And I mean, he's one of the few people that I see that gets really good quality video and production quality and graphics and all sorts of stuff using mobile. So tell us a little bit about what some of your favorite places to visit, to eat. Tell us a little bit about Milan and other parts of Italy. I'm sure people are looking for some recommendations when they travel.
Okay, one of my favorite. I mean, I am gung ho on Venice, and it's only 4 hours away, 3.5 hours away from train. It is an amazing place. If you come to Milan, there's everybody goes to Florence, Rome, Naples, the classic Siena, and of course Venice. Right. But Venice to me is an ideal place to go to and visit. It's very tough. If you go, you have to know somebody from there that recommends restaurants because it's very touristic-y, but there's I have a list of a couple of restaurants that are really down to earth, simple, and really unique food. Milan, I mean, Milan is changing. Milan, I've always called Milan a little New York. It's kind of like New York in the 1980s, but
a little rough around the edges.
Now with the Expo, they had the Expo last year. And that really put the place on the map. So there's a lot of investment coming over here. I was talking to some people I know in finance who told me that the fact that the UK pulled out of Europe with the Brexit means that now companies are looking at the other financial capitals and Milan is one to come in and set up their offices here. So it's very interesting. And then Rome is Rome. I mean, Rome is an amazing city. It's a beautiful city. But I mean, I tend to go down to the coast a lot. The people that know me here, the periscopes and the Snapchats that I do, I'm always down by Camogli, which is right by Portofino, because my mother-in-law lives there, and we have an apartment there. And I just did a periscope like last week, and I showed like the view from the 5th floor of the apartment, and it was like 250 people were going like, "Wow, this is awesome!" I didn't invite those people. I didn't, because then you end up at the airport you got to get like a shuttle bus and stuff.
Right. I think Carlos is ready to move.
To live in Milan. Carlos, you just moved to New York. New York's a great city.
So, not to totally bring us down, but I got to ask you, the earthquake. How are things recovering? How's the country pulling together after that?
It was in the central region of Italy, and it destroyed basically 3 towns, of which one totally obliterated, which is Amatrice, which is traditionally an old Tuscan town that doesn't have any sort of earthquake. I mean, when they built them back in the 1400s, they didn't think about these. They were not concerned about it. Right. It's coming back. There's a lot of volunteers from all parts of Italy there. The crazy thing, the sad thing, is that a lot of kids died, and a lot of children victim in this one because people were sleeping at 3:30 in the morning when it occurred. We didn't feel anything. We were down on the coast holiday, and then when I woke up in the morning, I turned on the news, and we were like, all in shock. So.
How many miles?
Roughly, I mean, we're about 3.5 hours away. I would say mile-wise, I think that I had to look it up, but 3.5 hours by car.
So outside of those 3 towns, there wasn't
tremendous
damage.
It was felt in all the other cities, but Umbria got a little bit. A friend of ours' aunt died in a town close by. They collapsed, and she was 80 something, and she couldn't get out in time, so that was very sad. Hey, Mia Mia's in the house. Here. Mia, I was just mentioning, Mia, about your visit to Italy. and how we went dancing. We had a great time. It took me out dancing, and which was a lot of fun. Yes, it was epic.
So if anybody wants to jump in, we've got about 15 minutes left. Feel free to jump in, ask any of your questions. Mia says you were doing the white man's overbite for Morrissey.
Well, I have a certain age, you know. I can't do Drake. I did not know you could dance. Oh, Alan, come on! This is a friend of mine from Miami, Alan Gross, who we used to be in a band together when we were kids. When we were in college, barefoot. Yeah, I know. We used to. Yeah, we used. So
hey, so what do you recommend? Like when you're in the Milan area, what are some local dishes that people who have experienced Italian food in New York but don't know what like
risotto alla milanese, which is risotto. It's kind of yellow with the saffron on top of it. That is the classic. And then la milanesa, which is this huge breaded veal steak. You know the breaded veal steak that you have in Long Island? That's typical Milanese, which is really typical Austrian, because the Austrians when they were in Milan, they brought that over. The place we went to for my birthday, we took Mia to this really nice restaurant, which was a simple place, nothing, but it was great, and she loved it. We had Betty's Kitchen is also a must visit. That woman can cook. It's true. She can cook. She's amazing.
Now they had the Winter Olympics. Did they have the Winter Olympics near Milan? Or Torino? How far is that from?
An hour and a half.
And is that sort of like everything they built up there for the Olympics? Is that still there?
It's still being used? Yeah, it's still there. It's a very nice city. It's famous for chocolate too. Pasta is fantastic. Wow. And those are the best. Yeah. Now we went down the food thing. You know, when
I could stay on the food thing for hours.
Let's talk about Snap Happen, which is next week. Yeah. So
sure.
If somebody wants to come in and join us, and we'll talk about the last minutes. We'll talk about food, or we'll talk about Italian women for my male friends in the crowd. You know, because that's how I ended up here. Hook. You know, it was like hello.
I'm listening.
I got one. And the men, yes, but the men, there is some very good. You're right, Terry. There is some very good. Mia, what about the men in Italy?
A little aggressive.
Yeah, that is true. They're famous. So next week I'm going to London. I'm going to London for work because I'm going for the London Design Week, and the companies that we do web stuff and digital stuff, they want me there because we're presenting an app. But apart from that, I decided, since it was the same period of Snap Happen, and Virginia Salas Castillo, and along with Craig Fox, they organized the Snap Happen event. I registered 4 months ago. I said, what the hell? So I'll go for the day event. And we've been texting back and forth, and Alex Can is going to be there, Carlos Gil. There's going to be Honduras, if people know from Snapchat. Honduras is amazing Snapchatter. There we go. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a one-day event, and there's the Ghosties, which is an award thing at night. But I have to go to a client dinner, so I'm going to miss that. But if anybody's in London, anybody who's into Snapchat or they're in London from Wednesday to next Sunday, it'll be great to meet up. You know, it'll be great to meet up. We'll just go at a pub for a pint or whatever. But it's a really, really great event.
Right.
And I want to learn a lot of stuff about, you know, Snapchat. We're enjoying the platform.
How much Italian do I need to learn between now and when I have your couch reserved in April of next year?
You can use that New York accent. We can make that. We can go with that for quite a while.
Oh, that's too funny.
Unfortunately, I'm at another event, which should be great. Live streaming inside. Yeah, that's too bad. That will be amazing. I'm gonna have fun. I want to party a little bit. There's seminars and stuff, but I want to also. I knew very little, and I made it okay. Just learn how to say where there's a bathroom and more wine, please. that's yeah. Well, Mia came to Italy. She stopped in Milan, and then she did a whole tour. She did a really extensive tour of Italy, and then she came down to Camogli. And by the way, but on my channel, on the Casa Chiesi channel at Fire Talk, I have a rotating film about how to make pesto. My nephew makes pesto in the kitchen, and Mia comes in for surprise guest at the end of the door with the pasta, which is pretty funny.
You can promote your channel. You can drop it in a link in. Do you plan to use Fire Talk, or do you plan to host on? Where do you think you're going to host if you
got an issue here in the sense that I'm dying to do some sort of broadcasting of something specific, like a show or something. But Betty's very much like, we tried it on Google Plus and we got good engagement, but she was like, she wanted some more, the numbers. She's obsessed with the numbers. I'm not. That's not true. But the thing is, and then also I'm thinking of podcasting. Podcasting about Italy would be relatively easy to do, subject wise. But as I was going back to the beginning of our conversation, time when you have a full-time job and you're running around, time to do this. We end up doing this stuff on the weekends or at night. When we're like concentrating, and so it's quite difficult since Casa Chiesi is really our. It'll be something down the road, but it's not our main business. It's for us, but I kind of like the idea because everybody's like, oh, you'd be great doing a broadcast about Italy and having people come in and ask you about Italy, which is another idea that, we might do. And I think Fire Talk is a really good platform. I'm not so, what I like about Fire Talk, Ross, is the fact that you have a Discovery channel, so you see all the people, and we do have the channel. While on Whoza, it's kind of like, where
there's no way to be found.
And the same on Crowdcast. As much as I love Joe Kahn, he's trying it out, but it's like I had to ping him before and say I want to watch your show later. But how do I find you? Because there's no.
And you have to pay for those platforms. What I really like the 24/7, the fact that because I do these brief updates on Facebook Live, and so I can drop those in here, and because I don't think people for the most part are going to sit here and sit through a playlist of 8 shows that are an hour show or whatever. But it gives people a reason. If they come here, they can actually get a flavor of what we talk about and what's going on with live streaming and stuff like that. So I like it. I kind of think it gets you thinking about more from a network. It's the first step. Eventually, hopefully, we'll have a network and all that kind of stuff. But it's a first step.
I consider you, Ross, to be the TV guide of video live stream. No, really, and I'm looking at him why this is fantastic, and kudos and heads off, and hats off because you're really good at it. So I'm very impressed with it.
And definitely let me know if you guys decide to start a show. I don't think, numbers is one way to measure, but it's also the connections that you make. And then it also serves as, if you do try and monetize the business, it serves as sort of a portfolio where people who aren't necessarily going to go read blog posts or things like that may sit and watch a video. They may come to your site and watch those videos, and you could also maybe embed them in a blog, right? Which I see done on the site. If people start watching a video, then they're staying on your blog a lot longer, and that's good for the strength of your domain and all.
We're still. Stuff, I'm very happy that the sense that from when we started to where we're at right now, it's growing. Oh, there's Mia.
Mia's going to jump
in. In the meantime, let me answer some questions with because I think Carlo asked, are you getting any? No, we're not getting any income via Casa Chiesi at all. No. Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Denver.
No, not camera ready, but because it's you, I was like,
okay. I'm gonna come in.
That's cool.
How you doing? Great to see you. Good to see
you.
I'm very honored that Ross invited me on the show. I'm very, very happy.
No kidding. What did you talk about? I missed it.
We talked about Italy. We talked a lot about Italy.
And
then we talked about that platform with the 4 letters.
FUCK. I'm just kidding.
That one. No, that one. And then we went. We talked about Snapchat. I'm going to Snapchat. Snap happen next week.
Oh, I'm so excited. That is going to be amazing.
That's going to be amazing.
Funny, how we were so resistant to Snapchat last year. I didn't want to be the old guy in the club, you know?
Yeah. Let me also mention to everybody here that when we started Casa Chiesi, we got a lot of support from a lot of great folks, and Mia, I mean, everybody in the side chat, people